Stepfather's abuse led to my mom's death, so I took his house. So let's get this out of the way. I am 34 female, my mom was 55 female, and my now ex-stepdad is 65 male. They co-owned the home as joint tenants, and everything they had together was 50-50 at this point in time. Let's call my ex-stepfather Louis. My mom and Louis had been married for 16 to 17 years. There had always been questionable behavior, but it was none of my business since I moved out at 18. Well, at 27, I decided I wanted to go to college to better myself. My mom and Louis both agreed and offered me and my small family the basement apartment of their home. About 1.5 years into my program, my mom was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. A week before she was due to have surgery to remove the tumors, one of the big ones ruptured. One thing led to another, and my mom's cancer spread. She was re-diagnosed with a different rare cancer that affects the connective tissue. She was given a 2-year estimate without treatments. Now this is where Louis started becoming abusive. He was at this appointment with my mom and had a full-blown tantrum. Note, I have my mom's medical notes and a doctor who noted all of this. This is important later. And said that his wife won't be doing anything. He stormed out of the room, and my mom then told the doctor, also noted in her file, that she fears for her life because she knows if she doesn't do the treatments, she will die. But she also knows that Louis won't let her. Louis became abusive, verbally, mentally, and physically. He drained their joint bank account so my mom couldn't even buy herself bread. He cut the brake lines on her car, and more, and did everything in his power to stop her from doing treatments. Let's say she had treatments twice a week, every week. She would maybe be able to make it to half of them if my spouse or I drove her. My mom ended up moving into my unit in the basement, and I started defending her against him. I told him, if you don't stop, I will do everything in my power to ensure that you are held responsible for her death. He laughed at me and told me, "You're a woman. What can you do to me?" His abuse then extended toward me whenever he had the chance. Well, I hired my mom a lawyer and changed my program to criminal law as best as I could, so I could learn everything about how the system works. I then handed in evidence, and we started to build a case. It took 8 months of collecting evidence through the security cameras I set up in the home. Louis knew about these cameras. I hid nothing, and he was aware he was on camera in certain areas of the house. During this time, I had already been pre-approved by the bank to purchase his 50% of the house. All he had to do was sign one piece of paper and agree, and within 30 days, he could have gotten $250,000. He refused because I wasn't going to get his house when he was going to put my whole family on the street. And yes, that was all caught on camera. Louis was handed a summons by my lawyer's office to attend court with us. He refused, saying he knew more than the lawyers and was not going to show. Because of this, we ended up winning in court and sole possession of the home was given to my mother. All his assets were locked and put under my mom's supervision to prevent him from liquidating them. He had a restraining order placed on him from the house and my mom, and he wasn't allowed to leave Canada. He was evicted by the police that night, and the locks were changed, etc., etc. With him out of the home, we got my mom onto ODSP, and she was finally able to start treatment safely because she now had access to transportation through ODSP and the cancer societies. My lawyer and she also broke the joint tenancy on the home and made it tenants in common. This is also super important. And pretty much while my mom was still lucid, she set everything so that when or if she passed, the house and everything she owned would go to me. For those who don't know, in Canada you have 2 options when buying a house. Joint tenants are for married couples who want to split a home 50-50. In these situations, if one passes, the home automatically goes to the spouse. Tenants in common is when you buy a house with more than one party and everyone owns their equity separately. In the event of a death, the will determines where that equity goes. You can Google for more details. In the next 2 years before my mom eventually lost her fight with cancer, we kept going to court with Louis. He kept refusing to deal, or even sign divorce papers, not taking offers, etc. I became my mom's caregiver and was the one who cared for her in every aspect. Closer to the end, Louis told not only my lawyer but also the judge in a court settlement meeting that he refuses to sign or deal with anything else. He would also not attend any more meetings because he would wait for my mom to die and take everything. He was told then in court by the judge and lawyers, two of them, that it would not happen. He laughed, and yeah, that was the last anyone heard from Louis. My mom passed away this year, not due to cancer, but due to a complication from the cancer. She had a tumor rupture, and it caused an upper gastro bleed. She died in my arms. There was nothing I could do for her. I was diagnosed with PTSD from the traumatic event. This is also important, and I still somehow managed to handle everything. Louis changed all his contacts and has not updated the courts on his whereabouts. After she passed, my mom's lawyer took her will and we went through the probate court system. Since my mom had been granted sole possession and, as per her will and the videos that my lawyer and the judges had all set up prior to her passing, everything was to be transferred to me. I had to sign some paperwork, with the judges just agreeing to everything that had been set up, but it was all done legally and properly. I also took all of my mom's medical notes, including the note from the original doctor that spoke about Louis's outburst and my mom's fears. Unfortunately, both my lawyer and the judge said they can't hold him responsible for her death, but they all do agree that his actions did lead to her death. I am still in court as we speak, trying to push this through to have him criminally held responsible. I know it's a long shot, but I'm still trying. My lawyer is saying it's like a 60-40 chance, but she's seeing what she can do based on the evidence and confessions we have from him. There is a chance, but it is slim. The home and everything she owned got transferred to me. So I am now the registered owner of the house with sole physical possession. I've also been granted her life insurance, which all went to paying off her debt, including their joint line of credit, credit card, etc. And pretty much everything he thought he would be getting by waiting for her to die was given to me and approved by the judge. I have agreed with the courts, because I am not a bad person, that I will honor the 50% buyout that was agreed upon when we started this whole fight. However, any debt he owes me, because he still owns the 50% in equity only, will be deducted from the buyout balance. We will also not be getting the house reappraised because of the renovations this house needs that I will be paying for. He now owes me over $50,000 in debt, and climbing based on any renovations I do to the home during my ownership, paying off the joint mortgage, and paying off the joint line of credit. My lawyer also wants to go for 50% of all legal fees, and 50% of anything I lose due to my PTSD diagnosis from all of this. But they need to find him first. Now, since no one can contact Louis, my province here in Canada only has a 2-year statutory limit for having claims open in courts. The claim he opened to get the house back has been thrown out in the court system, saying that he has abandoned claim and title. I showed up in court, but he did not. After some internet digging, my friend found that Louis has taken off to Mexico and is not even in Canada anymore. That also violates the court order that was placed on him when he was evicted from the home. He was not to leave Canada until things were settled, so that's a whole different story, and my lawyer is handling that part because that has nothing to do with me. But until he returns, the courts are not worried about much. Now, in the event he doesn't return and, let's just say he dies in Mexico, my lawyer and the judge have advised me we will just sue his estate in court for the 50% equity to be transferred to me as collateral to the debt that is owed. However, I still own the house. I have sole possession, and in all legal aspects, the house belongs to me. If he does come back, he will be facing repercussions for leaving Canada, but if he does try and reopen another claim, he can't. Since the claim was set as abandoned, my lawyer is saying he can't open another one. So he will be stuck in either A, taking the offer, or B, not taking it, and I just do what I wrote above and petition his estate in the courts. But either way, in any situation, he will not be getting back possession of the home. So yeah, at this point I am still going to court to have him held responsible. The courts and lawyers are all on my side, and they were the ones who granted me the house and everything. So I legally took everything from him because his actions led to my mom's delay in getting treatments and thus contributed to her death. Now for the comments. Good for you. When my mother died, she didn't have a will, and Step Creep kept everything, even childhood stuff. Just waiting for him to kick it LOL. Same thing happened to me, waiting to get my mother's family items she left to me. He already told me that he is going to spend it all. Whatever, his karma, douche that he is. When my wife and I bought our house and had kids, we immediately placed the house in a trust. Good for you. We have greedy, entitled a-holes on both sides. We want to protect our assets. I like Canada. The legal system seems to make sense and does not waste time with BS. I am sorry for your loss. I would suggest individual or group grief counseling. It helps tremendously. Don't. I am impressed by this story, but all my first-hand knowledge of the Canadian injustice system is absolutely sickening and heartbreaking. To me, stories that have a happy, justified ending are very rare. Disgusting, corrupt, and lazy judges litter the country and do little to nothing at the least, and great harm to Canadians at the most. Next story. Renter thought she got away unscathed. I own an apartment in Manhattan, New York City, and decided to rent it out furnished and move to the house I had bought for my infirm mother to take care of her on a full-time basis. She's 87. The rental income was to become my main source of income. My new tenant, a middle-aged woman from Queensland, Australia, lacked previous landlord references since she said she had owned and lived in her home for 30 years. She was gainfully employed, met the financial criteria to qualify, and provided some solid letters of reference. Long story short, she stopped paying the rent 7 months into her 1-year lease. My attempts to contact her were unsuccessful, so I took her to housing court and had her evicted, and sued for damages in small claims court, damaged microwave, stained sofas, apartment left in filthy condition. As you can imagine, she skipped the court dates, surreptitiously moved out of the apartment, completely ghosted me, and fled back to Australia, where it would be very expensive for me to remotely hire a local lawyer to domesticate the financial judgments and garnish her wages. I was adamant that she wasn't going to do this to any other landlord and plotted my revenge. She has a very unique name, so I bought her domain name. Let's say her name is Jane Smith. I purchased janesmith.com and built a website. I proceeded to post the details on said website. Her photo, an official copy of the financial judgments I won against her. She owes me $16,000 in unpaid rent plus over $7,000 in damages, including photos of the filth left in the apartment, the damaged furniture and broken microwave, the notice from the marshal posted on the door with eviction details. Details about where she worked and the club she frequents in Queensland to play bridge. I was very careful to include only facts so as not to be accused of slander. I focused on the SEO of the website and managed to have the website be the #1 result when you Google her name. Then I sat back and looked at the stats of the website visits, which showed her employer had visited the site, and I also got emails from some people who had seen her at a professional conference she attended and wanted to let me know her whereabouts. In addition, I communicated with the people who wrote letters of reference on her behalf, which she submitted when she applied for the apartment, and told them about her unscrupulous behavior. It's now going to be 3 years. I still own her domain name, the website is still up and still gets visitors, and if you Google her name, it's still at the top of the rankings. Although keeping the website going is costing me some money, the satisfaction of knowing that she has been publicly unmasked and can't swindle others continues to give me great satisfaction. She arrogantly and callously cost me $20,000 in unpaid rent and damages, and it is now costing her far more than she saved in unpaid rent. Any job she applies for, any apartment she tries to rent, anyone she tries to date will know the truth behind the mask. Angela in Queensland, you now know FAFO. That's 20,000 USD. To her, it will be 30,000 Australian dollars, so that is significant. I actually hope you continue to keep the domain name for a long time to come. I just renewed the domain name for another year. So, let me get this straight, just to understand how things work. If I Google Angela Vondale, her name, and click on your website, will this help keep your website the top result when folks search for her name? What if I search the employer name and her name together? Will that also possibly help get the word out to people about this criminal? I'm in Australia. Just Googled her. Very nicely done. You got the first 2 hits on Google. I'm in Australia. A 2009 post says she was a professor at Bond University, a university founded by one of our most famous fraudsters. That fits. In case you didn't know, the uniform Australian defamation laws say truth is a defense to defamation. Keep up the good work. Last story. I blackmailed the maintenance man at my grandma's senior center. I, 41 female, had to do some community service for a misdemeanor charge I was found guilty of, so I went to the senior center in my town. Immediately upon arriving and being introduced to the person in charge, aka the maintenance man, he was hitting on me. We did no work at all. We walked straight through the cafeteria and out the back door and sat on a bench where he proceeded to tell me how awful his life was, how he was in a loveless marriage, his wife was handicapped, on and on. I felt bad for him until he started talking about the other girls that came through, how they sent him pics, and how he signed their paperwork to say they did their community service. Maybe I wanted to do the same? I don't remember what I said, but I left and didn't go back, pretending it didn't happen. Then I only had a week left in my sentence to have my community service done, and I hadn't done any of it. I had 4 out of 40 completed, so I did the only thing I could think of. I texted the maintenance man and told him I wasn't going to send him nudes, but he was going to sign my paperwork, or I would tell his boss and the court what he was doing. So he signed it. Then I told my probation officer not to use them anymore and why. I wanted to call his boss, but never did. I just wanted to make sure that he wasn't taking advantage of the women in that program anymore. Just to clear things up, he is no longer part of the program because I did turn him in the same day I blackmailed him. I regret not doing it sooner, and I regret not telling his employer and his wife. Funny ending to this is, one day I was at work telling some girls about this guy, and later that day, one of them pulled me aside and told me that the maintenance man is her stepdad. She started crying, saying she knew he was doing this to her mom, but her mom won't believe her, and maybe now she will. I felt terrible for her. I told her to have her mom call me and I would tell her all of it. But I never heard anything, and as far as I know, they are still together. And he still works there, which sucks because now I am 50 and can go there and it's awesome. The craft room is insane. They have a choir, lots of exercise equipment, free transportation, and day trips everywhere, but I don't want to see him. If I had the balls, I would totally go and make sure I said, "Hey, remember me?" Thanks to you, I had to actually do my hours. People like you ruin it for everyone. You didn't seem to have a problem with him fraudulently signing your papers. My probation officer and the judge were glad I turned him in and let me go without doing the hours. I have nothing to do with other people having to do their hours. That's an idiotic statement. This post is a great study in ethics. Seriously. Both OP and Dirty Boy, the maintenance man, and the other women can all come off as self-serving opportunists. Dirty Boy, an obvious pig, and the women because it seems that all they had to really do was tell Dirty Boy to piss off and direct them to their community service work. That's what my experience as a man tells me. However, the more I think about it, the more I believe that these women were backed into a corner, figuratively and literally, by Dirty Boy. He knew from experience that no one was gonna stand up for these women. So yeah, I get it that OP was more than happy to avoid doing the service hours, but hopefully, her action saved other women from having to be treated as less than human. Her motives weren't all pure, but her results were, and really, that's about all we can hope for. I have regrets about not telling his employer. And of course, I didn't want to do my community service. I worked full-time and had a family. It was the judge and my probation officer who let me off the hours. They were happy I came forward. Was it selfish? Partly, I suppose, but I don't see anyone else having the balls to do it.